What is up, guys? Welcome back to another video. My name is Nash, and in this video we have another practical Microsoft Excel interview question. This is where I take real life problems that might get asked on an interview for a financial analyst, or these are some of the things that you might have to do as an entry-level financial analyst. That's why they ask those things during the interview. So yeah, we're going to be taking a look at a specific question today that's going to test your knowledge on how to use VLOOKUPs. So let's go ahead and get started. All right, so as you can see here, this is our problem here. So we have a little nice scenario here where you just joined the finance department of a company and you've been provided with two data sets, and your task is to consolidate the information from both these data sets and generate a comprehensive report. Simply means one report containing all the information. So we have two data sets here. The first one is going to be sales data, which is going to contain the sales transactions for the month, and there's also columns that are titled transaction ID, date, product, and so forth. Now, our second data set shows the details about each product, right? So you have things like product ID, product name, and unit price, category, and so forth. Now, what is our task? All right, so the goal here is to combine these two sets of data into one comprehensive report, and we're going to be using a VLOOKUP to add maybe two more columns, which are the product name and the category. All right, and some tips here that might give you an edge when you are completing things like this for someone to look, is to make sure that your VLOOKUP can also handle cases where the product ID might be missing. And yeah, so we're gonna go ahead and get started here. Let me go ahead and pull up my Microsoft Excel. All right, so let's look at our first task here. So we need to add two new columns, which are titled product name as well as category. Okay, so I'm gonna go over to my Excel, and I'm just gonna go ahead and create one here and the next one. Okay, so let me go ahead and make sure this is bold as well. All right, let's make this a little bigger so you guys can see what I'm doing here. All right, so we want to bring the product name from the other data set here. As you can see, we have a product name over here. And we also want to bring the category. As you can see, we have a category here. Let me make this big as well. All right, so when you are working with VLOOKUPs, you always want to find a unique identifier. That's what's going to allow you to pull data from another data set. So you need a unique identifier which is present in both data sets. So let's start with the product name here. I'm going to go in here, when I do equals VLOOKUP, and our unique value here is going to be the product ID. Right, so I'm going to select the cell, comma, and now I'm going to go over to the product information right here. And as you can see, we also have product ID here. So I'm going to highlight from here, and I'm going to bring in the product. Let's just do all three here, right? So because we're going to grab the product name and the category. But first, I want to pull the product name. So this is in column number 2. So I'm going to go ahead and select these three columns, do a comma, and now I'm going to type in column number 2 because I'm trying to pull the data from column B, which is number 2. And I'm going to do another comma, and I would do a 0, which means you want an exact match. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and close my parenthesis, hit OK. So you can see now it's bringing in the product name here, right? So now I can drag down my formula, drag it over here. All right, so now we can do the same thing. I'll redo the formula so you guys can see if you want to see this one more time. So I'll do a VLOOKUP, go over to the product ID. That's going to be my unique value, right? Do a comma, go to my second data set, and you can select 03, or you can just select, let's do a 3, and then 0. All right, as you can see, I added 3 on here because I'm trying to pull the data from column C, which is the third column, and the 0 is I need an exact match. Okay, go ahead and hit OK. I'm gonna drag down the formula. All right, so as you can see, we have a problem here, this NA here, right? So from what I'm looking at here, I'm like, all right, are we missing product P005? So I'm going to go over to my product information here. As you can see, there is no P005, anything with a product ID with that ID, right? So now, obviously, if you're working with a large set of data, you're not going to have, the luxury of just eyeballing it, right? So you might have to do a search. You might have to put some filters so you can look for things like that to verify. But I want to show you, let's go back to here, look at our problem here. Now, one of the instructions was you want to make sure that if the VLOOKUP formula is correctly handling cases where the product ID might not be found in the product information sheet. So that's what just happened here, right? This product ID, where's it at? Oh, right here. We cannot find it in the product information data set here, right? So what you could do with your VLOOKUPs is, I'm gonna go ahead and delete this for now. So you can add an if error formula, right? And then you do your VLOOKUP, you nest your VLOOKUP inside that inside that if error formula. Now I'm gonna go over to product ID, same thing I did. Go over to product information. I'm gonna go ahead and drag the same things to 2, 0, and then after that we're gonna do comma. So if there's an error, what do I want this formula to spit back on the screen here? So I wanted to say spit back some text that says not found. So this will only execute if there is an error, which is an NA like we saw before, right? So I'm gonna go ahead and hit OK. Now we'll drag down the formula to right here. Now, as you can see, it says not found, right? Instead of displaying an NA, which doesn't always look good, you can do something like this, okay? Now, do the same thing here, just so that you guys can see the formula again. We'll do if error, and then you nest your VLOOKUP in here. Then you do your same thing, go back to the product information, do 3 and 0. So here, I'm gonna do the same thing, not found. Run this down, run it all the way down. There you go. Now we have another not found here. So one of the cool things I like to do, sometimes I would do conditional formatting so that it's easy for me to identify these not found, right? Because it's kind of hard to see here unless you put a filter. So what I like to do is I'll select, let's select these two columns where I have my VLOOKUPs. I'll go to conditional formatting and I'll go ahead and create a new rule. And this is going to be, format cells that only contain. So I'm going to go ahead and select that. And here I'm going to say very specific text containing, so I can type it in here, not found. All right. So I'm going to go over to format and I'll go over to fill and we'll just make this red. Okay. Okay. So if it says not found, then you're going to get highlighted in red. So I can even type it here. Right. So not. You can see it's going to be highlighted in red. Okay. So this just makes it easier to kind of like visually see where those not founds are. All right, so that is pretty much it for this problem here. As you can see, this was a simple one, but it did teach you very important things, which are how do you combine data from two different data sets, right? How do you handle if there's an error as you are combining that information? How do you handle those errors? Those are some really important skills for analysts that when you do them for a very long time, they just become second nature to you. But that is pretty much it for this video. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.